Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The practice of spirituality is very strict. There are a lot of rules and regulations, and the scriptures are advising us now we should be regulated the way we eat, the way we sleep, the way we use our senses. That is why it's very important na yung practice, especially ng mouth natin, that has two functions, to eat and to speak, to be regulated. Kasi doon nag-start lahat. We chant using the mouth, and we hear the chanting using the ears. And we partake and consume yung mga ibang foods, food stuff through the mouth then. So two functions. The way we speak and the content of our speech is very important. It should be beneficial. It should be spiritual. That is why if a practicing yogi or spiritualists, especially the bhakti yogis or the devotees, should be careful ano yung lumalabas sa bibig niya. If it is negative, it is rumors, chismis, or nakakasira sa ibang tao, it's not actually part of the practice of bhakti. It's actually degrading one's spiritual practice. And one should be also be careful not to be engaged or to hear yung mga ganitong klaseng hindi call prajalpa or just village talk. Kasi yung inaalagaan nating bhakti creeper, yung bhakti sa heart natin is nadi-destroy. Kaya we should be careful with our association, and if may mga ganitong mga so-called spiritualist devotees na hindi pa nila nalalayuan yung ganitong bad habits, we should keep a respectful distance if hindi natin sila makorek. Very important to have a regulations in the practice of our spiritual life. Basically, ito yung magbibigay sa atin ng balance. And the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is teaching this to Arjuna. Let's read Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 6, Jnana Yoga, text number 11 to 12. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the ground and then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should be neither too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it very firmly and practice yoga to purify the heart by controlling his mind, senses, and activities and fixing the mind on one point. So, Krishna is actually describing yung process ng Ashtanga Yoga. Again, wag tayo malito. Si Krishna is giving Arjuna the options. Binibigay niya yung mga options, ina-explain niya yung mga options. And in conclusion, lagi si Prabhupada nilalagay niya dito sa end ng purport na sobrang hirap neto. And yung chanting of the holy names is the perfect way for us to practice yoga. This one, sobrang hirap niya kasi ang daming rules and regulations, even the height ng seat. Kung ano yung layering ng upuan nila, deer skin, kusha grass, tapos yung cloth, soft cloth. Yung deer skin, ginagamit kasi yun to prevent yung mga insects or yung mag-disturb pa dun sa nag-meditate. Kasi they have to go to secluded places, mostly forests, na hindi sila madi-disturb ng ibang elements, animals, or kung ano man. they have to go to holy places then, sacred places. So, tinatawag din tong um, places of pilgrimage. So, bakit nagkakaroon ng places of pilgrimage? Mostly kapag si Krishna nag-incarnate or yung incarnation ni Krishna or si Krishna mismo went to that place to perform some pastimes. Or some pure devotees or great devotees ni Krishna went there to perform their pastimes. Sometimes, yung iba doon is kung saan sila pinanganak or the rest of their lives or saan sila nag-disappear or nag-pass away, nagiging pastime places yun or pilgrimage place yun. So, kaya natin makikita sa ibang places, lalo na sa India, na may maintain nila to, andun yung mga sages, andun yung mga yogis. They perform their spiritual activities there. And also, place of pilgrimage or sacred place is temple. Kasi nagper-perform ng spiritual activities. They have the worship of the deities, may altar sila. Then, merong chanting of the holy names. They also have the association of devotees. They hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And that place na consider na yun na holy place. So, even sa houses ng mga devotees, if they perform all of this, magiging places of pilgrimage or sacred place yun. But this time, yung sinasabi ni Krishna rito, as an Ashtanga yoga, it's very detailed kung paano nila kailangan i-practice. Kaya sabi niya dun sa age, sabi niya dun sa purport, sa end of the purport, in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, this Kali Yuga, yung deliverance is the chanting of the holy name. No other way down. One should hold one's body erect and head erect in a straight, one should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with an unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. So, the body postures is very important then. Sabi dun sa pag-practice ng Ashtanga Yoga. Kailangan straight yung posture niya. Tapos nakatingin siya sa tip of the nose. Then agitated dapat yung mind. Hindi pwedeng yung lumilipad-lipad lang. Inisip mo anong plano. Ano mangyayari. Punta dun sa past. Teka, nagugutom ako ah. Ay, teka lang, baka may notification na phone ko. Di ba ganun yung mind? Ang daming gustong gawin at the same time. Pag gusto mo tumahimik, gusto mo mag-chant, dun siya mas maraming gustong gawin. Ang dami niyang gusto maalala. So, kailangan subdued mind, controlled, devoid of fear. Lalo na pumunta sila sa middle of the forest. Di sila nag-worry, teka lang, baka may tiger, baka may pwedeng snakes na kumagat sa kanya, makapatay sa kanya. No, dapat fearless. Then, one should also practice brahmachari life or free from any form of sex life. So, this modern times, sobrang hirap nito. Kasi everyone is exposed to a lot of advertisements, movies, music that are revolving around sex life. In the modern times, ang daming, sabi nga ni Prabhupada dito, nag-mock ng yoga practice and certainly wasting of time. Kasi yung yoga is so degraded, so watered down. Yung mga yogis are doing the yoga for sexual activities. They're doing yoga for sense gratification. And it's just actually gymnastics, just flexibilities. Or yung iba, they try to learn the new philosophy, but it's just also mental gymnastics, just to show off. The practice of spiritual life, the practice of yoga is actually not for the cause of one's feeding the false ego or just to show up. So, ganun ka-importante na kailangan well-regulated. Sino ba talaga yung focus ng yoga? One should meditate upon Krishna from the heart. So Krishna, the super soul, ito talaga yung goal dapat ng isang yogi. Perform sila ng mga asanas para mas makontrol nila yung senses nila and yung mind nila para makapag-focus sila kay Krishna. Hindi to show off. Brahmachari life is very important kasi this is the strongest strength. This is strongest weapon yan, ni Maya. Ito yung pinaka top ng sensual activities and gratification na meron sa mundo. Even the lower species, the animals, are crazy about this. And the illusion is when one is performing sexual activities, that is the highest form of happiness. And again, yung analogy doon, if that is so, the prostitutes should be the most happiest and ecstatic people in the world kasi they get paid for sexual activities and they get to do it regularly. Pero hindi. Hindi nangyayari yung happiness na yon just because of sexual activities. That's the illusion. But we can see the rest of the people of the world are chasing after sexual activities. Minsan nga mindlessly na, parang animals na sinachase nila yung sexual activities. So, the practice of yoga should have the control of this. Sa practice ng mga devotees in this time and age, we have this Varna ashram na merong mga grihasta or householders. Yung may mga family, may mga nakatira sa, may mga partners. They perform sexual activities, pero alam nila, they do it to beget a child na maging Krishna conscious. Hindi parang cats and dogs lang na sobrang daming anak and they don't know how to maintain them materially. Paano pa yung maintain them spiritually to facilitate their spiritual life? So sobrang importante na very mindful nga yung performance ng sexual activities ng isang spiritual person, lalo ng isang yogi. Sabi ni Prabhupada dito, pag tingnan nyo yung last part ng purport, lagi niya kinukonclude, binibigyan ng clarity para hindi maligaw yung isang yogi. Kasi minsan pag binasa nila yung isang verse, ay ito pala yung dapat gawin. Tapos di na makita yung buong context. So, hindi ka pwedeng mag-recite ng isang verse na hindi mo alam yung buong context. Sinabi ni Krishna to. Pero may continuation yon. Nakita natin may mga preachers ng mga iba't ibang scriptures ng iba-ibang religion or practices. They fight with each other, they debate with each other just because they're trying to use a certain verse or line ng verse mismo yung ng different books. Pero sila nag-aaway. Kasi nilang titigan yung buong context. Nagko-focus lang sila. So, ganon. Nakakaligaw siya pag di mo alam yung buong context nung sinasabi. Like this sa Bhagavad Gita ni Krishna. Kaya kailangan natin ng teachers para hindi tayo maligaw. Sabi ni Prabhupada dito, if one is trying to be Krishna conscious, automatically na-restrain and na-regulate nila yung senses nila, yung life nila. Automatically refrains from this kasi nagkakaroon sila ng higher taste. And hindi sila nagiging fearful. Kasi alam nila, kapag nag-practice sila ng Krishna consciousness, yung life nila is always dedicated kay Krishna. Lagi na naalala sa Krishna. It was mentioned here, fearfulness is actually coming from perverted memory, forgetfulness. Hindi natin kilala si Krishna. We're chasing after temporary goals of life tapos mawawala lang yun. Mabilis lang siya mawala. Doon nagkakaroon ng fear yung mga tao. Baka mawala yung mga pinaghirapan nila. Baka may kumuha. Actually, temporary nga talaga. So, if a devotee is trying to practice really a deep connection kay Krishna, nagiging fearless sila. Thus, practicing constant control of the body, mind, and activities, the mystic transcendentalist, his mind regulated, attains to the kingdom of God or the abode of Krishna by cessation of material existence. Sabi ni Prabhupada dito, yoga practice is not meant for attaining any kind of material facility. Automatic siya nangyayari. Nagkakaroon even ng mystic powers yung mga yogis. Nagkakaroon sila ng flexibility. So, nagkakaroon sila ng fame. Automatic yun, the energies and all. Pero it's not really meant for that. Meant siya para maging close or makontrol yung senses, yung mind, para mas maging close tayo kay Krishna. Mas mag-meditate tayo kay Krishna. Actually, mas maging detached nga tayo sa material na facilities or material existence. Meron din sinabi rito na ni Sir Prabhupada na there's no void anywhere. Di ba? Yung iba sabi nila, meditate on nothing or enter the void. It's nonsense. Walang ganon. Walang nothingness. Everything or in everywhere, there is life, there is soul, there is consciousness, and there is Krishna. Si Krishna is all-pervasive. Kahit saan, andun si Krishna. And if one performs this yoga, meditating on Krishna, he'll really attain peace. And at the end of his life, kapag na-perfect niya yun, he'll get a chance to become a devotee. Or, if nag-pass away siya, completed his practice of Ashtanga Yoga, he'll go to the kingdom of Krishna, abode of Krishna, Vaikuntha. There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi, O Arjuna. If one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough, this is the regulation. A yogi doesn't just fast, di siya kakain. Magka-fasting ako ngayon for losing weight. Or arranging ng energies and chakras ko. No, hindi ganun basta-basta yon. Fasting is done by the guidance of scriptures pa rin. Kaya may tatawag tayong Ekadasi fastings and fastings kapag mayroong mga commemoration or celebration ng mga incarnations ni Krishna, Lord Vishnu, or even mga great personalities. May meaning yung mga fasting. So sa food, kailangan very regulated from the amount and even yung fasting. Hindi siya trend lang or yung mga uso na ngayon na intermittent fasting or other kind of fasting, water fast for 3 days or whatsoever. Lahat yun arrangement with the arrangement ng mga stars and moons. Kasi naka-arrange siya kung kailan sa lunar calendar. And of course, dun sa spiritual calendar natin. Hindi siya whimsical dapat. So, of course, kung ano yung kinakain should be prasadam. Plant-based foodstuff na offered kay Krishna. Kasi if one is just eating without offering kay Krishna, one is just merely eating sin. Kahit gulay pa yung kinakain, may life din sila. They are just in the lower consciousness. Hindi siya sabing yung plants wala sang life. Actually, they have life. You don't always necessarily have to kill them. Sometimes yung fruits lang kinukuha. Technically, kapag nag-zoom in ka dun sa detailed nung life, may mga bacteria kinakain dun. So even if one is breathing, may mga microbes, di ba? But they are in lower consciousness. So one should really offer yung mga foodstuffs kay Krishna para maging prasadam. So there will be no sin, karma-free. Karma. And the sleep is very important also. Sleep, not too much nor too little or no sleep. Kasi sleep is part ng reset or refresh and rest ng isang tao or ng isang living entity. So we can use the body and maintain the body for service. Hindi to sleep just for sense gratification or not to sleep because I'm a yogi. Not for show off lang. Very important in regulation. He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. The importance ng control and regulation sa extravagance lifestyle, lalo na sa eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. It's just like an animalistic life, that four propensities. Pero pwedeng gawing posh. Gawin mo sa mas mahal na places. Gawin mo sa mas social na mga way. Pero still animalistic life. Kaya we want to have a simpler life but higher thinking. Kasi yung iba doon na nakafocus. Mas masarap na pagkain, fine dining, di ba? Sofa bed, perfect na security, or high sense na sexual pleasure. So doon nakafocus yung mga tao. Pag tinanggal mo yun doon and you practice the regulation, then you can practice yoga properly. So important yon na the use of the mouth. Actually, doon nag-start. The tongue. Yun yung words. Kasi yun yung consciousness natin. Ay yung lumalabas sa bibig natin kung ano yung nagiging consciousness natin. Lagi nating iniisip. Otherwise, may block yung advantage natin spiritually. Mode of goodness is very important. We'll discuss this further sa later chapters. But the mode of goodness is very conducive sa practice ng spiritual life. Mode of goodness is very important kasi it will guide us sa sleeping, sa mating, sa eating, and sa defending. If may ganito tayong lifestyle na mode of goodness or tinatawag na ng sattvic, yung practice ng bhakti is very smooth. And meron pa siya talagang push or drive. Mas madali mag-practice ng bhakti yoga, ng spiritual life kapag may nasa mode of goodness. So mode of goodness in the way we speak also. Kaya yung title natin ngayon is regarding ano yung content ng speech natin. Kailangan sa mode of goodness then. When the yogi, by the practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, he is said to be well established in yoga. So, kailangan may discipline. Kaya nga nagiging disciple. Kapag nag-receive tayo ng instructions sa isang teacher, and we want to aspire as a disciple of that teacher, tinatawag tayong disciple. And ano yung characteristic ng isang disciple? Meron siyang discipline to follow the instructions. So ito, binibigyan ng instructions si Arjuna ni Krishna. And if one have that capability to control yung mental activities niya, strong yung mind niya, he is described as a lamp in the windless place does not waver. So the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendental self. Gaano ka ba ka-steady? Gaano ka ba naapektuhan ng mga tao, ng mga pangyayari, ng even weather or ng hormones, or ng mga ibang factors? Or kahit anong mangyari sa paligid mo, steady ba yung mind mo? Just like a fire or a candle in the windless place. Di ba pag yung lamp, yung mga old school na lamp, nilagyan mo sa, may cover yun eh. Yung fire makita mo, steady lang siya. Pero pag tinanggal mo yung cover, mag-waver siya. Yung mind ng isang yogi should be like this. Hindi siya basta-basta naapektuhan ng dualities, happiness or distress. Winter and summer season. The practice of yoga is very important in the spiritual life. And hindi lang nakakulong yung yoga sa postures. Hindi lang nakakulong yung yoga sa sitting practices or the way kung paano yung lifestyle niya. Yoga is the connection kay Krishna. Literally the meaning to link, to connect to Krishna. So, the practice of yoga is sacred and spiritual. Hindi siya material. The yoga asanas is just one part of that ladder. Actually, the ladder of Ashtanga Yoga, one part lang Ashtanga, and yung asanas, yung postures, are just one part of that part ng ladder, ng rung of ladder na yun. So it's a bigger sense of yoga. And the top, most of it is the Bhakti Yoga. So just like the title of today's episode, na kailangan natin na nasa mode of goodness tayo. Otherwise, yung magiging lifestyle natin is just negative. Just in the mode of passion and ignorance. And the way para makontrol yun is to always chant Krishna's name and always do a lot of services para kay Krishna. Kasi yung devotional life or bhakti yoga is always to connect everything kay Krishna, not just the body, not just the posture. Yung buong life natin sa paligid, makonect natin kay Krishna. And that is our episode for today. Spiritual pero naninira ng kapwa. That's bawal. Sobrang importante na the words that are coming out from our mouth is spiritual din. And if magkaroon tayo ng chance na makarinig ng mga tao na may ganitong negative na speech, keep a safe distance kasi naapektuhan yung consciousness natin. Naapektuhan yung bhakti creeper natin. And nakakahawa yun. It's poisonous kapag may mga ganitong tao. If may mga ganito sa Facebook o social medias ninyo, just unfollow them. And dumikit tayo dun sa mga taong yung words nila are also beneficial sa ating spiritual life to everyone. Like Sri Prabhupada, he prayed kay Krishna to use his speech suitable para makilala ng mga tao si Krishna. And that should be also our prayer. Na yung actions natin, speech natin, yung words natin, makatulong din para makilala ng ibang souls si Krishna.